Hello and welcome to the Scriptcase training video. My name is Jamie Oates and I am your host today. In this week's edition we will be creating a Google Calendar which we will add into the mechanical portal which I had created in the last video. So last month we had created this mechanics portal. If I log in here we can have a quick look at it. And we can see here, first of all, the calendar which we will be creating today. So this is what we will be adding. And with this, we will be customizing this so that we can keep track of our customer appointments for the maintenance or appointments for our customers for the vehicles that they will be bringing into our shop. Okay, so with this, previously we had created various applications for the clients, the vehicles, and so forth. And I believe there was an issue with the database which I had included for this project, which is actually meant to be for the next project. So the calendar I'm creating today, if you pay attention to the Spanish side, then you will notice that this calendar is actually being added to the restaurant application, which is, as I mentioned, next month. And with the issues and so on with the database, I thought, okay, I will use today the mechanic platform and integrate the calendar here for this platform. And that way you have an updated version of the platform. As you see, there are also various other changes here to the styling and so on that I've made. And I've also made some further changes to the database and so forth, so that everything is in English. There is no Spanish there whatsoever. And well, it should be then good for you to go. Okay, so let's start by having a look first of all here at the calendar. So within the calendar, I can add new entries. I can select a customer or indicate a customer name. So if I start typing the customer name, it will start showing up. I can then select the service that would be applied to the vehicle. And then I can select the client vehicle that they will be bringing into the shop. I can then also include the title, which I have automated, so that we have the title with the customer name, the vehicle type, as well as the model, and the service that will be applied. And as you see, the description I have also auto-completed, which we can then come in here and add further notes if we wanted to. And then we can customize the description further, but at the same time, we will always have the vehicle information within the description so that there's no confusion to what type of petrol type fuel type it requires, or the car model or details or anything as such. So I will be showing you how to apply all of this during this video. Okay, so this video does link with Google. Okay, so I'm not logging in there right now. I have it actually disabled. So if I come back into Scriptcase and if I then open up my calendar, and if I then come here to the Google API and enable and then run the calendar application again, we'll see that this time it will log me into Google with my personal account. So it is an unverified app. And then I log in and allow my changes and so forth. And then I will then be able to see the updates and additions here that I add into this calendar within my Google Calendar also, and vice versa. Okay, so I will also be showing you how to apply that today so that you can use or create your Google Calendar. And as you see here, we can now import the Google events, export events to Google and so forth. And we can actually check out how the calendar here works entirely. Okay, so on top of that, what we're going to be doing first of all is I'm going to take you through the database and the changes that have been made here. So within the DB mechanic that I have here, we have the following fields which we had covered within the last training videos. And the only changes I have made here is within the table appointment. And here I've added 10 new fields so that it is compatible with the calendar application and can store our end times, the Google API and so forth. So here I have added the end date. I've also added the end time, recurrence, period, category, the ID API, the ID event Google, recurring information, as well as the event color and reminder. Okay, so these are the new fields that I've included within the Google application. into the database, sorry. And you will then also need to apply these yourself if you are using the original database, which I will also include this time around. So you have the original database as well as the updated database you are viewing here. And then you can apply it as and how you please, or you can start from using the original database, add the fields yourself, make the adjustments, and follow along within this video. Okay, so let's get cracking then. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to close this project. And I'll close that form. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to load here the original mechanic platform, which I had previously created. And you should be able to download that within the previous video. And then here we have then all of our applications. So I see here I have an application that's outdated still. So I'm just going to go ahead quickly and generate all of my applications, make sure they're all updated. I can then go ahead and run that and then check out how the application or the individual applications are looking or running and so forth. So within the current version, which we have today, you will notice that I have made various changes to the platform as well as the theme and so forth. So we will quickly jump in and make those changes first before we add our new calendar. Okay, so now that we've everything generated, if I come then here to root, now one thing I really like to do is place my menu here into the root folder. So I'm going to do that now. If I come here to admin, security, and then here I have my app menu. So I'll select that and then click down here, the move option, and then move that to root. So let me zoom in some more so you can see that better. So I have my app menu, click here, move, and then I can choose here to which folder or location I want to send that application. So I will move that. I'm asked if I'm sure if I want to do that, and yes, I do. So I continue. And then if I come here to root, I now have here the app menu, so I can just go ahead and run that directly from here and check out the app menu as we had left it within the previous training. Okay, so let's go ahead and change that first of all. So within the app menu, I had selected here the elegant black. So let me just find that here. Elegant black we're looking for. So there's a ton of menus that we have available, menu styles. So we have here C, elegant. Now we should have here elegant black. So I select that, and now I have the new menu applied. Now I had also made some changes here to the layout, so I will leave that entirely up to you, whether you want to move them around or adjust them, because personally I think parameters should maybe be called settings, and we should maybe place that over here towards the security. The formats, we have the coordinator task maybe as an individual menu item, and here the client vehicles also. So some of these we can just quickly go ahead and change those. So if I select here client vehicles, for instance, I can select here the move left option, and now that is available here within my main menu. Okay, and if I untick that, and then here I will select the vehicle brands models, and then I can adjust them down and move them more towards the settings. Okay, so for me the vehicles and models should also be within here the parameter pages. So I'm going to go ahead and select those also. And I will jumble them down. And deselect them again. And then here the vehicle brands and models. I do notice vehicles is then within the tree menu here. So we have vehicles and then lowercase brands and models. Okay, so if I actually just move these up into parameters here, for instance, and then nudge them over to the right, and then here also, see, I need to change here the brands again. Okay, make sure it's selected, and then write it again. And now within the parameters we have here vehicles. You can just see it there at the bottom, brands, and then models. Okay, so that's then within the parameters. And what I will then change is I'll also change here the name to settings. I much prefer that. Now we also have here the coordinator tasks, which are then for coordinators. So I'm going to place that also here within the main menu, as that will then be visible for the coordinators when they log in. Now we have here the formats also, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust them down. probably just leave them there. Now ideally I think they would probably be good within the settings also, but we have here the appointments execution and the finished quotations, so they're not exactly formats is not really the best suitable title for those, but I'll leave that entirely up to you. And if I go ahead and run that now, we have a little cleaner menu. We have our items a little more organized. Now here we have users, customers, coordinators, operators, and now I'm going to go ahead and adjust that also, and then I will place that within our security, which we have down the bottom here, and again nudge it over to the right, and we see there customers being the first option did not adjust, so let's improve that one. There we go. And now within security we have there also users, customers, coordinators, and operators. Of course we could place that in settings if we wanted to. I'm just going to leave that as so. Okay, so with our menu then running, we can then go ahead and make some other changes to our application. So if I select here, for instance, the client vehicles, we have here our grid application, which then displays all of the vehicles that are in store. We have the active status, the customer names, and so forth. And what I want to do then is just really quickly change the theme of all of these applications. So if I come up here to layout, we have here the applications themes, and we can see here the themes that I have available for this project. Now I have no others enabled, okay, so I will need to do that first. So if I come here then to project, and then we have here the properties of our project, and then here I can change the themes or add new themes, remove this one. So I'm going to remove that, the blueberry, and I'm going to include the SC9 meadow. Okay, I will then select it, set it as default, and save that. Okay, so now when you go ahead and run your applications again, you may notice that they are still using the old theme. So something that we want to do is ensure that all of our applications are actually configured to use the new theme that we've just applied, and not the old one. So if I come up here to application and then to express edit. Okay, now within express edit, I can choose to edit all applications or select applications. I'm going to go ahead and go all. And then here I'm going to enable first of all Suite Alert and the position for all of our applications. And here I will select theme, and we will change the theme that is enabled for each of our applications. So first of all, let's enable Suite Alert. We'll leave it top right. And then here we only have now the SC9 meadow available, as I had removed the previous one. We can apply that. And there we have all of our applications now with the new theme. So I'm going to go ahead and generate the source code again. And now all of our applications will be updated with the new theme and will look more similar to what I was showing you there in the first place. Okay, so now that's done, we're going to go ahead and start creating our calendar application. And you may have noticed I had also set the calendar application as the home page or the opening page of our menu. And at the same time, I had added an extra option there for the calendar so we can view it at any time. So let's go ahead and do that in a few moments. First of all, let's create the calendar application. So within our appointments folder, I'm going to create the calendar application here. I go in new application. I'll select the calendar application. And then here I will choose the appointment table. And we have then calendar TB appointment. We can choose to edit the fields and choose the fields that we want to have applied for the calendar. And we can also select here the correlation between those, which we will need to do as we are not using the typical calendar database or table, which is applied from the calendar application. So in this case, because I'm using the appointments table, I will need to define each of our points here. So start date and start time are not as they would be applied within the table typically. So I need to select them here. So start date and also the start time. I can scroll down and check all of the others, make sure they're all defined, and then click on create. Okay, so now with our calendar application running, let's go ahead and run it quick and have a quick look at that. Okay, so we see here within our calendar application, we now have the basic layout. We have here our events being displayed already. And the first thing we can do here is enable the display of the description that we have. So if I come back here into the calendar and select here the calendar fields, I can choose here the description, and there we have here the description. Yeah. Save that, and we can go ahead and run that again. And now our entries here will also include the description of each of the events that are displayed. Now, one of the other things I had done is change this to a week view instead of the month view. So let's go ahead and do that now. So return back to settings. And then with the settings here, we can apply various options. So first thing I'm going to do is here display the mini calendar. Okay, we can adjust the position from left or right. And we have then also the option here to change the start mode, which I'll change from month to week. And if I go ahead and run that again now, we have now the calendar with the mini Google Calendar, and notice that it also starts directly on the week and not the month. And of course we can come up here to the right hand side and make those adjustments so we can see the schedule if we wanted to, the week view, month view, and so forth. We can then come in here and add our entries. Okay, and notice that it is the typical calendar entries that we have here, and our other IDs for our mechanic store are then also available there. Okay, so let's jump back into our calendar application, and the first thing we want to do is change all of our fields. So if I come here to the form settings, and then within edit fields, I can quickly here select the items that we want and make adjustments to where I also want them positioned. So the first thing I want up here at the top here is first of all the customer ID. So I'm going to move up the customer. I will drag here the ID appointment out of the way because that's not going to be needed. And then we have, next up, we have the ID car service. So let me move that up as well. So then I'll go service or car service. Okay. Then we have below that the service. Then we have the title, the description, and we then also want to have the price and category here. So description, price, category. Now the system date time, we can drag that down. The ID car, that should be at the top here. So that we want here below the ID car service. Now the stage I have included here in the second block. And then we also have the event color, which I've also adjusted here to the second block. And the API ID, which we can then drag all the way out of the way here. We won't be needing that within this, this section here, so we don't want to actually see that. And let's double check here the rest of them. So we have customer ID, so let's change these straight away to select menus. Okay, ID stage, also select menu. Now we have here the service. Okay, service should be a select. We have title, description, the price, and the price I will also change to a select. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so now within the left hand side here, we can then make adjustments to each of these fields. And basically what I've done is I've gone ahead and opened up the original appointment application. So I could do that here quickly. And then from these fields that we've previously added, we're going to have the same options here for the customer ID, the ID car, the ID car service, and so forth. And then we can just paste them here within the lookup settings. Sorry about that. So let me copy that and paste that in there. And then for the ID car service. Okay, so I'm just going to paste the same, they are exactly the same statements as we have here. Now do remember to choose the connection, and I personally like to use the title all the time because then that also loads the field, doesn't make it look like there's any details there, doesn't enforce a selection. Okay, so I'll correct that also for the customer ID as I hadn't selected that there. And then for the ID car, we want to do the same thing again, copy and paste the select from the appointment form. And you see here we have exactly the same select as we had previously. And then we have also the service. Again, same thing again, select the connection, choose the title. Now, did I just choose that for the ID car? No, see, I missed the connection and the title. Okay, so then for the price, let's come down here to price. We then also have a select here. Okay, so these are all loaded on the ID car service. And then the final one here was the ID stage. Okay, so there also use title and connection. Okay, double check here, price. I selected the title and connection here, and again I missed it. Okay, so now if I go ahead and run the application, we'll now have a little nicer layout and fields that we need for our service. So we have here the customer, choose the customer, we have there the balancing kit, and nothing else is loaded yet, so we still need to apply those and update those values. And you may have noticed I actually added these elements into tabs also. So let's quickly go ahead and do that. So first of all, let's change the layout here for the blocks, and here I'm going to change the position, next position to tabs. Okay, I will select no for all of these, for the collapsed options, and I will also display the title. Okay. Now, the block schedule here is using a language variable, but this language variable is by default not enabled within the application language. And of course, you can go ahead and add those if you wanted to. And I'll change that to details. And if I go ahead and run that now, we'll now have our calendar with all of the relevant fields, and now in tabs. Okay, so schedule here, we have to hit the stage also. And note, you may have noticed that the stage is then also going to be automatically color coded, so it will select the color that we want to apply. So let's go ahead and start applying those changes. So the first thing I want to do then is create here an Ajax event, and I will create a new Ajax event, and here I will select the ID stage. So let's do that one first, on change, and then create an event. And here, if I paste in this little piece of code here, so I'm selecting here the ID stage. If ID stage is whichever of these values, 3, 2, 4, 1, and then we also have here default color that we can apply, and then depending on the stage, we have here gray cancelled, dark green confirmed, dark blue completed. Okay, so depending on the value that we select within the form, if we run it again, we can have a quick look at that. Now, depending on here, if I open up the form, come there to schedule, change my stage, it will automatically update the color that we have applied here. Now, notice also that I've used the same colors that we have available within the color field. So if I come here to event color, we can adjust our colors here, and then of course we just need to apply the same colors that we want within our little script. Okay, so I want to create one more Ajax event, and that will be on the title. So, and what I'm doing here is on click. Okay, so when I click the title, it will complete the title information and also complete the description. Now notice here that I am using the examples available within our right-hand menu here from Scriptcase. So these are freely available here. Now ideally you would more than likely create your select so it concatenates each of the fields and connects to the free data, well, the 3 or 4 tables that we have here all in one go, and then provides all of the information for you. Now really I wanted to do this so you can see how quickly and easy it is to also use the examples here and then just follow that along and then fill in the information that we have at the bottom here. Okay, so at the top here, we're first of all connecting to the CarX customer table with the customer ID, okay? And we are receiving from there the plates, so the number plates, the fuel type, the body type, and then also the model ID. Now again, with the next select, we're connecting to the table customer, using the customer ID and retrieving the customer name. The next select is then connecting here to the ID, to the car models table, using the model ID, which we are receiving at the top here, okay? And there we are then grabbing the model and the brand ID. And then from the brands table, here car brands, we are just selecting the brand itself using the previously received brand ID. And at the bottom here, I'm just combining those elements quite quickly and simply. And then with that, if I now go run, and then start the Google application up, clicking title will then fill in the variables for us. Of course, at the moment, there is no details up here, nothing is selected, and nothing is, so we have here the defaults being displayed. So we still need to enable Ajax here. So if I come then first of all to the ID car service, and what I'm going to do here is at the bottom here, use Ajax to read other field types. And here I will select the price, I will select the service, the ID car, and that would be it. So if I save that, okay, and then if I go run, and now we can check out the calendar again. If I go customer, add the service, we now have our relevant details here provided. Okay, so the ID car service is very similar, so we could actually just get rid of one of these or not display the ID car maybe, or the ID service, whichever you please. And then we have again here our details here filled in. We have here the category, which we could then automatically select. So let's come back into our menu here. And there are some extra settings which I changed here for some of these. So if we pay attention here, we have the price, which should also be automatically defined. So here price, we want to change this field to not display the title. Okay, so it immediately displays the price. Now we have also the description field. I like to make this a little longer or larger. So if I add 8 lines in there, that will increase the size of that. So make this section here larger. And then we can of course remove the other field, which we don't really need. ID car service. So here we have car. That should just be presenting here the car for us. And then the service. Okay, so that's good. And we have then title, description, price. All right, okay, so I think we're actually a-okay there. Now, one thing I had done is actually made some changes to the fields so that once they're selected and inserted, that we can't make changes to those. And then what the best way to do that then is first of all here for the customer ID, for instance. If I access this field here, I can then change here disabled field so that in update mode, it disables the customer ID. And I'll apply the same here for the car service. In update mode, ID car, also disable this in update mode, and the service I will leave as it is, okay, because we may want to change the type of service that will be applied. So if I go ahead and run that now and open up one of these previous additions, then we can see now that these fields are now disabled. And we can select here still, we can still select here the car that would be applied. Okay. That is actually not right. It should really be the service. So let's double check that here. Service. Yeah, that's why it has the other select in there by mistake. So paste that, which should be service, run. And now if I add a new one, let's go ahead and see that again. Customer name, the type of service, the plates, and here we have then the clutch kit. Okay, so it's this one here we actually want to leave open. Okay, so I'm actually seeing on the original I have that there, so I'm going to leave that as it is, and you can of course make your own adjustments. So the next important thing is of course we want to link our application now to Google. So now if I go into the calendar settings and then Google API, I have here the option of pasting my JSON code. So if I copy and paste that here into the field, I can then select here integrate with Google and then go ahead and run our application. And then we will start to be able to log in with our Google account and start to use our application. And then with the Google Calendar open, we can go ahead and import our Google Calendar events from our own application. So if I import here the anniversaries, for instance, and I can also import the holidays that are here in Portugal. And if I come here to month, we can now see that my calendar has been updated with those entries that I have within my Google Calendars. And of course, if I come here and save one of these entries, for instance, and then go to my Google Calendar, we will then be able to see these events there. And then of course we can export all of our events to the Google Calendar. So for instance, if I select here and I got all events, I can export that. And then all of the events that are available within my Google Calendar will then also be exported to my Google Calendar, which that may take a few moments. And then within our Google Calendar, we can see the new additions which have been added here. I'm really sorry about this being in Portuguese here. I had changing the calendar. For some reason, Google loves to change everything to the local language. Okay, so to retrieve your JSON code to enable the Google Calendar, if you navigate to your console.cloud.google.com and log into your account, you'll be able to access here the option New Project, where you can then create a new project for your application, fill in all of the details. I'm not going to go through that now because I already have quite a few accounts there and I'm pretty much at my limit. So if I come here to the SE samples, I have everything filled in already. And then notice up here the left-hand menu where you can access from here the APIs and services. So you want to access that first of all. And then you can at the top here enable APIs and services, where you will need to enable the Google Calendar API, which you see here I have enabled already. And then with that, also within the left hand menu here, we can access the credentials. And then we can access the OAuth 2.0 client ID, which we have here. And then from here, we can download the JSON code, which is then required within our calendar application. Now there are one or two indicators here that we still need to add here to the calendar application. For instance, here I had used a name search. So let's first of all change the customer ID from a drop menu. And here I'm going to select number autocomplete. And now if I run that again, instead of having a drop menu there, as so, we will be forcing the user, and of course now I'm logging in all the time. So let me just remove that for a moment. I'll remove that, run the calendar again. And now if I go ahead and create a new entry for the customer, we no longer have a long list of customer names. We now start entering the customer name and it will be presented to us, as well as then all of the relevant options. Okay, so one other thing here is that we have here the ID stage, for instance. We really want to enforce the user to select the option here. So within our Google Calendar, we can come here to edit fields. And within the edit fields, we can then specify that the customer ID is required, the service, car, the ID stage are all required to be entered for the submission of our events within our calendar. So I'll go ahead and run that again. Now within the calendar, if I go to add a new entry, I can then go ahead and start to add the new customer, the service that will be applied, the car, and again the service here. The title is auto completed. The category, now we can also change this here. So if we can go ahead and access our Google menu again here, so the Google application, and we have here the categories. Now depending on your own service, you may want to remove each of these. Hiding the field itself will not accomplish what you want. So if we actually come here and remove these entries for family, friends and others and so forth, and then we can make here work as default, for instance, being a work calendar. If I update that then and then run the application again, notice that here first of all the categories will be reduced to only the work categories and without a category. And then also within the application, work is now also automatically selected. So let's go ahead and add an entry, customer, direction, select all the options. And then for the schedule, also now required, so confirmed, and the color is automatically selected. For the period, we can set reoccurrence if we wanted to, but there's really no need for this project. So if I go add, we now have our client's meeting date here provided. Okay, so an important thing of the Google Calendar is the fact that we can also drag and drop elements around. So we can just drag them around into a different time space, different position, and notice that the information is also updated. Okay, and we can also disable that if we wanted to within the calendar application. So if I come here to the settings, and at the bottom here, we have the option to first of all hide the recurrence fields if we don't want to have that enabled. And then here we have the option to disable the drag and drop as well as the full day option. So we can disable those, run the calendar application again. And then within our calendar, we can no longer drag and drop the elements around. Okay, and notice how the fields are selected. They are no longer changeable. Okay, so make one quick final adjustment to this. Let's go ahead and add here an icon at the top here and change the text that we have there for the calendar form. So if I come here to Font Awesome, and if I just search here for a calendar, give me the free one, and if I check here the calendar alt, so I'll just copy that, and then here within my calendar application, if I come here then to the header and footer section, I will remove the date, and here I will then place the calendar, and let's go ahead and increase the size of that. And we need to remove here the hyphens and place that at the bottom here also. And then we can add new event or appointment. Add new appointment. And here, edit appoint. Edit the appointment. And if I go ahead and run that again now, we now have our calendar application with a decent title as well as the Font Awesome icon there. And the last thing we want to do now is actually come back to our menu application. So I'll come back here to root, open our menu, and now within the menu I'm going to access the settings, and at the bottom here I can choose a default application. So I will say one application, and here I can open this, which will then present me the applications I have. And here I will select the calendar TB appointment, import that, and then run our menu application. And now on opening of the menu application, it will also open the calendar view straight away. And then the last thing we want to do here is actually add the menu item for the calendar in there. So we can, if I go plus, scroll it down, I have the new item here, adjust that all the way to the top here. Now if I would have selected the first item here, so client vehicles, and then click the plus, it would have ended up just below that. So I didn't do that. So here I go Google Cal, and then here we can then again select the calendar application, import that. I'm seeing here the name has not updated, so let's go ahead and run that. And see there, it changed it again. Okay, so that sometimes happens when you're moving items around. So let me go ahead and Google Cal again. And here, select the application once more, import that and run. Okay, and now we have our Google Calendar here also, as well as the first loading application for our mechanic workshop portal. Okay, so there are of course other options that you can apply here. For instance, within the menu here, we can add here the text icon of Font Awesome. And again, I can add a calendar entry here. So let's do that. And then that is also then displayed next to our menu item for the calendar. and we are then complete with today's video. So I hope you have enjoyed this one, and again, leave us any feedback or comments, and I truly hope that you forgive me for uploading the wrong database with the last video. So I hope everyone enjoys, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much for watching.